Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and ain't a thing you can do about it. Today with Coffee with Curry, we are at that moment. We are at that moment. In just 2 days, we will know who will be in what positions. And what I did was I brought in the heavy hitters today. I have Brother Coby Owens with me today, as well as Stephanie Bolden. Both of them are giants in our community, and I'm looking forward to having a brief conversation with both of them so that you can get a chance to see, for those of you who have not voted yet, that we really must put in the right people in order for us to be successful in the years to come. Let's set the precedent of excellence. So why don't you call somebody real quickly, tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it.
Good morning, Delaware and surrounding areas. You are now tuned in to this week's Coffee with Curry. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. with new guests every week. So grab your cup of coffee and join us on Coffee with Curry.
And we're back. Well, Brother Coby, you usually are sitting on the other side of the table with me, and very seldom do I get a chance to talk to you on the Coffee with Curry show. But it is an honor and a privilege, one, that the city will, in my opinion, receive the talents and the gifts that you bring to the table. Wealth of knowledge, young brother. But Coby, before I get into the politics side of this whole thing, how are you doing as an individual?
Yeah. So first off, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm doing well. I have an amazing team around me, a strong foundation around me. I'm doing well. I'm, excited for what's to come in these next few days. But the work doesn't start in 2 days. I've been working for a long time.
That's
so
right.
No matter what happens on Tuesday, I'm going to continue to work in my community. It's the community I was born and raised in.
Yeah, I love your humble spirit in that no matter what happens. But, I'm from that school of thought that you got to speak things into existence. And I just believe that this round, we're going to see victory. We need you. We need your expertise. We need your professionalism in City Hall so that we can begin to get some things that are profitable for not just African Americans, but for people in general. Because I think that's your whole goal. I often call you a liberal because liberals really care about all people, not just a specific set of people. Coby, running for First District is one of the largest voting districts in our city. Very, very complicated. It's not like one demographic. There are
Correct.
many demographics there.
Yeah.
How do you think you're faring with this demographic?
Yeah, so I think I'm doing well. I've always been the type of person who can kind of cross over and talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Our district, we have one of the richest neighborhoods in the entire city in Brandywine Hills. And then we have a few neighborhoods that need some more love and compassion. I've been through every single block, the side streets and everything, talking to residents, talking to people who are registered Democrats and some who aren't, right? Not saying, I only care about the ones who can vote for me. I care about the entire district. I want to make sure everyone has a voice heard. And there's a lot of people in the district who are just not engaged anymore. They've given up on this council. They've given up on any hope. And I love talking to people like that because it lets me know that we have so much more work to do. And continue to engage and work with them to make sure their voices are heard, make sure their concerns are answered, so that everyone can live in a better community together.
Yeah, I see that, and I sense that, given the fact that you have that talent where you can speak to the powerful, and also to those individuals who are yet in need and more love, as you indicated. Right now, there are 3 people. We're not going to get into the names of folks who are running because we don't give anybody any credit. But there are 3 people running for that district. Sometimes it's very difficult to win against an incumbent. Have you developed any strategies or anything of that nature to try to help ensure your victory?
Yeah, of course. So me and my team, we've come up with different ways to engage with people. We did a listening tour first before we even launched this campaign, just to see if the need for me to run was there. And people had true concerns. They were upset about the lack of engagement, the lack of response from the current incumbent, as well as when they did get a response, they were just told to go to 311. And 311 is a system that the city transferred over to that was supposed to be more helpful. But it did a few things. One, it pretty much gutted our constituent services office, which is now down to 2 people who are doing their absolute best to answer the needs of the citizens. But this is over 70,000 people in this city. For 2 people to have to deal with all that, that's way too much.
Absolutely.
As well as 311 is a third-party operated mechanism that we have here in the city. The people who are answering the phones, the operators, they don't know the city of Wilmington.
Oh, wow.
So people are thinking they're filing complaints, but they're either not taking a complaint right or not following it. There's no follow-up, the same issue over and over and over again. And they've said that to the incumbent, and the incumbent still just says, well, just reach out to 311. So it's a lot of...
Is that the only answer that this person has?
That's the only answer that this person has had to civic associations, to regular people who've called about issues and things like that. It wasn't until he started asking for votes from people, and people said, hey, I've been complaining about the trash trucks leaving all this debris on the street for almost 2 years now, and you haven't done anything. He said, oh, I can make a call now.
Oh, I can make a call
But if you vote for me, I can get it done.
Oh.
Which I don't think that type of bartering is healthy for democracy.
Absolutely.
I don't think we need that here in the city of Wilmington. I think what we need is someone who is responsive all 4 years throughout their entire term, not just when it becomes time to vote.
Well, which is really the custom of what people do, especially some who consider themselves professional politicians. But Coby, as you walk through the district, have you been able to convince people? Because sometimes when a person who comes before you have just been saying call 311, call 311, call 311, then they start to lose faith, as you talked about earlier. I don't really want to deal with these politicians. Do you sense that you've been able to try to win some of those individuals to say, you know what, government can be run differently?
I have. And, they're not easy conversations at all, right? These are conversations that are not just going to be a 5-minute. This is going to be a 30-minute conversation where we talk in depth. What I've been able to really see the improvement on is when people see me, and, everyone lives with their phone, right?
Yeah.
That's internet right there at your fingertips. While we're talking, I have seen people look me up and see if what I'm talking about and what I've done in the past is true. And they see the articles, they see the videos, they see my name come up as someone who has gotten things done that I've put my mind to. Whether it's with the NAACP, whether it's with my job, people have been able to look it up and see my record and see, oh, okay, maybe he's young, but maybe he can get some things done and try to change the system. One of the things that I really talk about is how I've always had a heart for the community and wanted to center the people, right? And you have politicians who say put people first and they want to do all this other stuff. It's really about people over profit, right? The citizens of Wilmington should not be the primary source of profit and revenue for the city of Wilmington.
Absolutely.
We need to be better stewards of our taxpayer dollars. We need to hold our government accountable for their actions. And people have seen I've done that through the NAACP. People have seen I've pushed for policies that make it better on the everyday Wilmingtonian and Delawarean, right? They've seen what we've done with housing and what we've done with water billing and fines and fees and reparations. And they want to see more of that. They're excited to see more of that.
Yeah. People don't really understand, Coby, that a lot of times there are some who really kind of can't stand your guts because you speak up for the little people.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what and I want to bring that to the front for all of you who are watching us today. You have to know how to, siphon out the fat and deal with the facts. And a lot of times, people try to, like the police department, like the police league, the police folks, they are angry because you're trying to get to the root of some of the issues. Not saying that all police are wrong, but they are just angry because how dare you challenge system. And a lot of times, as I watched you, and even on our show, how you really get into the details saying, look, this is just not right. And it's not always about you profiting, because you're not profiting off of this. Matter of fact, you would do better by shutting up and letting people do what they want to do. And with all your skill, your knowledge, and your background, you could probably do very well in some corporation without being community oriented. So I wanted to make sure that one of the things that we definitely accomplished on this conversation we're having today is that people need to know that there's a price in being a Coby Owens, meaning out there fighting for the little person, out there making sure that every person is heard. I watched you NAACP, the Democratic Convention Committee, whether it be even the Urban League, on the source. You don't make friends by being true to those organizations, especially those who want to keep people quiet, who don't want, change status quo, who just want to just continue to profit off of people in the way that they have done. But Coby, is there something you can say to the people to say, look, I heard what you may have heard, but here's the real deal.
Yeah. So one, I am being attacked by the FOP.
Yes.
I knew I was going to be attacked. I was a little more prepared this year. But at the end of the day, I'm the board president of the Police Athletic League of Wilmington.
Yeah.
I work with the NAACP. I care deeply about making sure everyone gets to go home at the end of the day with their life, which means I don't want an officer harm and I don't want a citizen harm. If you've done something wrong, then you should go to jail, but you should have a fair opportunity to a trial, regardless of what it is. In this country, you're supposed to have a fair opportunity to a trial, a jury, and a judge.
Absolutely.
We cannot always just allow someone to be the jury, the judge, the executioner. And that's what I've fought against. And I have made a lot of enemies for it. I have a Wilmington cop who me and him went to school together. We couldn't stand each other in school because of some of his racist views, who I still don't think should be a Wilmington police officer right now. Why? Because those biases translate to how you engage with the community. Yeah. So if you know someone who has had a long history since high school with racial issues, how's that person now going to come in and be a police officer, serve and protect a majority minority city like the city of Wilmington? Absolutely. And we've seen there's been multiple complaints filed against this officer, and the Wilmington police haven't done anything. That's what I'm trying to root out, right? Yeah. I'm trying to rebuild the trust. But when you have an issue, you have to recognize and admit sometimes, hey, we have messed up. Let's fix it together. And until we get to that point, there's always going to be some of that fraction there. But I'll say this, as someone who has been critical of some of the operating practices of the Wilmington Police Department, I cannot be more excited to see the work that Chief Campos is doing right now. And sometimes that change is needed. He has only been in about 1.5 years now. And we have seen a complete 180 with the department. We've seen morale go back up. We've seen the minority officers enjoy doing their job more, right? So again, sometimes change is needed to bring about a better tomorrow. For the individuals who don't like me because of my stance about housing and development, I'll say this: development is good for any city. It's good for the growth of the city, but you can have development without displacement. You can make sure that there's fair investment into every neighborhood, not just certain communities. And we have a lot of taxpayer dollars going out to these developers. And I'm not saying stop all development. I'm saying if we're giving them public dollars, we're giving them our hard-earned money, then we should be getting something out of it. They should be putting some money into an investment fund to build more affordable housing in the communities that need it, because it's easier to fix up a blighted and vacant home and put a family in there than it is to have to build a new 10-story building. And then secondly, let's hire people who live and want to work right here in the city of Wilmington. Right. If you pick the community to work, you give them a new source of revenue and income. One, their families buy into the city more. That love for the neighborhood grows even more. And you also deter people from doing other things, right?
Absolutely.
Especially when you're working hard for your paycheck, for good benefits, for a prevailing wage, because you're getting those public dollars. That's what I want to do. Now, there's certain people who are developers who don't agree with me because of that. They don't want to hire people locally, because if you hire locally and you have to follow prevailing wage, that costs more money for them. It's the same, the project, the materials all the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the executives get less money in their pockets. And honestly, I could care less about executives that live in Pennsylvania, but have a company here and want to develop here. Let's put our people to work.
Yeah, and I think that fight has caused some people to rally other people again, and that's what makes me sad, because a lot of times the people who we are trying to bring the wonderful gifts that you're trying to give back to the community to, you'll find those individuals who are the executives and the CEOs who don't even live here, who don't even live nowhere near Wilmington, but they will give a little money here, a little sandwich there, a piece of potato chip there, for people to go against people like you and try to silence you. But I pray that, on 2 days from now, literally, that you will be able to get the victory, to be able to say, you know what, it's not about revenge.
Right.
It's about speaking up for the voiceless.
And don't get me wrong, I'm willing to work with them.
Yes.
I am willing to continue to move this city forward.
Right.
I just want to see a little more love shared in all our neighborhoods. And you do that by a few different ways. You do that by making sure that there is that avenue for that to be done. And sometimes you have to do that through legislation.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.
I want to be a butterfly.
I want my parents to forget they grounded me.
I want to create receipts to cover up all the money I paid to myself and my husband.
That's not how it works when you break the law, Bethany. Hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars improperly paid to personal accounts? It's time to get Bethany Hall Long out of Fantasyland and out of office.
Hello, my name is Coby Owens, and I'm running for the Democratic nomination for the City Council 1st District right here in Wilmington. I am running on a platform of addressing our affordable housing crisis, making sure we're helping both homeowners and renters both live in this city, live in safe and affordable housing. I'm running on a platform to address affordable housing, but also looking at quality of life issues, making sure that our street signs are up, our streets are fit, our sidewalks aren't cracked, and making sure our communities are safer for everyone. And lastly, I am running on a sustainable development and economic growth platform, one that makes sure we're investing into our neighborhoods, and our best investment that we can make is investing into our youth, making sure that we are preparing them for our future. And then lastly, expanding senior programming to make sure that they continue to age in place right here in the 1st District, in the city of Wilmington. I'm doing this for y'all. Vote for Coby Owens.
Can we trust Bethany Hall Long? Her record of scandals is clear. No, we can't. Hall Long funneled hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars to her husband and refused to turn over an audit of her finances to the State Board of Elections. She's accepted tens of thousands of dollars of illegal donations. Now she wants us to elect her governor? I know what my answer is. It's time for a new Delaware way, not the same old politicians.
And we're back. Just a quick conversation with Brother Coby. You see him every week on The Source, and he has been the anchor of our Source. Remember when Jay and I and Coby first started, and matter of fact, he's been on every episode other than when he's out of town fighting for somebody else. He tries his best to give us the true research, the true background, and he is like our research person, and we are very, very proud of him. And I'm hoping and trust. That's why I didn't even think twice to endorse him, because I felt that if the city had anyone like Coby in its ranks, it would do well. It would be well. It'd be a good voice of reason there. So, Coby, we are now 2 days before the election. And I know you've been on the streets. I've asked because I always want to know, how are people doing, and people are saying it. I hope you really. And a lot of our viewers are seniors, so those who live in the district. Before we go too far, tell me what areas are the first district, so I can get that feeling first.
So one, it's the north side of Wilmington. So some of the landmarks are P.S. DuPont, Harlan Elementary, the Powell Center. We also have Speakman Park Place area, East Lawn. So it's Lee Boulevard all the way Miller Road down 30th to Washington, from Washington to 27th on down to Governor Prince, and then back around, back up to Lee Boulevard. So it's a nice district. It's a very working class district. One of the largest minority communities in the city of Wilmington. Brandywine Hills is also a part of that as well too, which is now also a lot of minority home ownership over there as well too. We have some of the highest earners in the city, and some of the lowest earners in the city. We have 3 different school districts that are impacted by the district, whether it's Brandywine, Red Clay, Votech, Colonial as well too. We have kids in Christina. So really all 5 of the school districts in the city, we have kids that go to the different schools there. Anyone who knows how involved I've been with the Red Clay School District because of how our kids were getting left behind in our district. And even though it's a small portion in our district, for the last 4 years, I've worked extremely hard to change that school district. And I'm very happy that the 4 campaigns that I helped run and recruit candidates for, all 4 of them have won, and now have the majority on that school board, and it has been changing it for the better. But the district, it's a wonderful district. The Powell's in it. I say the Powell's the only community center for both the first, the second, and a portion of the third. And we have some county, but again, it's the heart of the first, right? Most of the youth go to the Powell in the first district.
Yeah, and you said earlier that you serve, and I'll make sure I heard you clearly, as the chair of the board at the Powell.
Yes.
So you kind of moved up, because you were at one point just on the board, then you became the vice chair. Wow, you just be making a difference.
So I was the first former person who used to go to the Powell all the time, to actually get on the board. And then within a 4-year period, I was elected to the vice presidency, and then back in January, I was elected president.
And that speaks to your leadership, that speaks to your knowledge and your commitment. I remember when the Powell Center, at some point, you didn't want to even step foot in there. But we just was talking on our show about several months ago, how the Powell Center has so many events, so many activities, so many things for young people to do. There's been a 360.
Yeah, I mean, one, we have an amazing team over there led by Chris Purnell.
Yes.
And the entire rest of the team are doing amazing things. Kendra Smallwood is leading our youth as well too. But I'll say this. We just did a book bag giveaway where we gave away 2,000 book bags. We are moving out of the space of just serving the youth, but serving the community, bringing resource fairs there, job fairs there, expungement fairs, to really meet the needs of the community in the area. That was a part of our mission of going ahead and purchasing the land, the vacant property across the street, tearing it down. To get it started, we built a playground, and now we're fundraising for a resource center and aquatic center. That's, again, to continue to meet the needs of the community. And I will say the seniors in the area are excited about the aquatic center. I thought the kids were going to be more excited, but the seniors, they want to do water aerobics and classes during the day to get in there and keep their bodies moving and everything like that. So I'm super excited to be working on a project like that. Again, that's outside of this race. It's something I just care about deeply.
Absolutely.
I care about that
and you're
center.
not paid to do it.
And I'm not paid to do it.
I want to throw something, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to throw something, because what I'm doing is I'm building something. You started there as a student, then you volunteered, then you end up being on the board, vice chair, then chair. Same with the Democratic committee.
Yep.
You're not just sat there. You've always been elevated up the ladder. And even though people don't understand it, that the Urban League right now, you currently are serving in there, and there's several capacities that you have to fulfill there that you're giving back to the community. For those of you, Paul talks about, for those of you who watch me, the preaching moment of me, Paul tells Timothy not to allow anyone to despise your youth. A lot of times we'll see a young person who is very much move forward like Coby, and we quickly say they just got some kind of ambition that is just not healthy. But his life has been serving other people. I mean, and I want to make sure y'all get that. I mean, from being a student at the Powell Center to now being the chair of the board. And if you go to the Powell Center, it is nothing like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many activities going on, and I do give credit to the executive director, but leadership at the top does matter. And then also with the Democratic convention, committee, I keep calling it convention. You went in, and you didn't just sit back.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't just try to find the opportunities so you can get some people to support you so that you can run for an office. But you've been serving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to make sure gets out today, that you've been serving. When we asked you to be on The Source, Jay said, yeah, this is his new up and rising young brother, Coby, man. He did such a great job with the protest where it was nonviolent, but it had substance.
Mm-hmm.
and it yielded a whole lot. Ever since we started on The Source, as we said before, you've just been there giving the takes that we need, not always agreeing with me, because there are times we disagree, and there will continue to be times. But what makes a good scholar, what makes a good servant is one who makes sure we're interacting and not become so very angry with each other.
And I think that's what's needed. And again, I've always been in the mindset, I have friends who are staunch MAGA Republicans, who you would not think me and them could be friends. The debate is about policy. Mm-hmm. It's about a vision and a path forward. We both care about the people. Mm-hmm. We just think we can get there different ways. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's what this council should be more like, yes. Right? But it has sometimes become personal attacks. Mm-hmm. It has become, well, I'm not going to vote for this good piece of legislation because I don't like the sponsor. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how you feel about the person, you have a duty, and you've swore an oath to the citizens of this city. Mm-hmm. That's how I would operate as a council person. Mm-hmm. I'm a bridge builder. I always try to find common ground, even if it's maybe someone who I personally don't like. If I know that this is an issue that they are passionate about and we can work together on it, I will roll up my sleeves and work with them on that. And that's what we need more of.
Yeah, absolutely. Coby, it's been a joy. We'll be together later on this afternoon
yes.
On The Source. And I'm going to continue to toot your horn and hope and trust and pray that the Lord give you favor. You deserve it. And because you have worked hard for this community, you've worked hard for the First District. You've called out things that needed to be called out, and you also rolled up your sleeve, and you certainly worked hard to bring about change. I wish we had more time, though. You're going to have to come back when you're not so busy running. But we'll see each other again later on today on The Source. Yes. Is there anything you want to just share as a last piece?
Yeah, this campaign has been centered on our community. It's people powered. I'm grateful to all my donors. I've raised over $10,000 from educators, from faith leaders, from community members. This campaign is about addressing affordable housing, our quality of life issues, being better stewards of taxpayer dollars, and again, showing love to all our neighborhoods and making sure we have that investment into our future. Whether you've been here for a while or you just was born the other day, we have to make sure that we're caring for everyone. And it starts in the First District, but it should ripple effect throughout the entire city.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I'm with Coby. That's all I'm saying. Now, and I could not stand Coby Bryant, but I'm with Coby Owens. When you go to vote, if you have not already voted, we ask that you please support Brother Coby Owens. He's a true leader, and he's a man who will roll up his sleeves and do what he has to do.
And let 3 friends know to vote.
Oh yeah, let 3 friends know to vote. He's cut me on that one. That's true. For Coby Owens.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Greetings. I am Wayna Dobson, your candidate for Wilmington City Council at Large. I have served our community and constituents for over 35 plus years. And in doing so, I decided that I would run. I want to be an advocate, continue being an advocate for constituents and those in the community. I want to be a listening ear and get a resolve done for you. You are important to me, and that's why I am running. So I am asking that on September the 10th that you vote for me, Wayna Dobson, Wilmington City Council at Large.
I want to be a butterfly.
I want my parents to forget they grounded me.
I want to create receipts to cover up all the money I paid to myself and my husband.
That's not how it works when you break the law, Bethany. Hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars improperly paid to personal accounts? It's time to get Bethany Hall Long out of Fantasyland and out of office.
How you guys doing today? My name is Brandon Snow. I'm president of Southbridge Civic Association. I've been a long-term resident of Southbridge. For those who don't know, my grandfather was Willie Snow. We had Snow's store on B and Hild, which was a long-standing staple in the community. I'm here as the new civic president to pledge my transparency and see the growth and prosperity of our community going forward. For those who need to reach me, feel free to reach out to me via email. It is Southbridge Civic Association DE@gmail.com. And if you need to reach me by phone, feel free to reach out as well. I can be reached at 302-363-4788. Thank you.
Can we trust Bethany Hall Long? Her record of scandals is clear. No, we can't. Hall Long funneled hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars to her husband and refused to turn over an audit of her finances to the State Board of Elections. She's accepted tens of thousands of dollars of illegal donations. Now she wants us to elect her governor? I know what my answer is. It's time for a new Delaware way, not the same old politicians.
And we're back. It is a joy and a privilege to have my good friend. You have been so much to so many people. I call you my Delta sister. State I'm going to call you Stephanie, but State Representative Bolden. You know, I was a little angered. I'm going to be very honest with you before I get started with this interview, because I was somewhere and I saw a piece of literature that the person who is running against you tried to put out there, and people believe things because it's written. Doesn't mean it's right. It's the truth. And one of the things I do is I do research, and while a lot of this is garbage and we don't really have to get involved in it because your record should speak for you, how you have been for your district that you represent, I think it's always important for us to be able to share with the people that we need seasoned people down there who understand how Delaware works, how Dover works, how the legislative piece works. Had he known what was happening and what some of these things he called himself, I'm going to be the opposite too. I think he would really realize that, you know, we don't need a novice down there. We need somebody who can get things done.
I appreciate that. A lot of people think it's easy, or I look at it this way. When you get a few blacks down in government, which took some time, if you go back and research the General Assembly and how we had to fight for anything for the city of Wilmington, even being the largest city in the state, it was very difficult. So when you start off, you started getting people that are of color down there. We only had one Hispanic, and that was Representative Monroe. He was Republican. And then you had Dennis, who ended up being our mayor. You had J.J. Johnson that was there, and a few others that were there probably but at one time you only had one senator, and that was Herman Holloway Sr. And he was a representative before he was a senator. And he fought for Delaware. Then you had Senator Margaret Rose Henry. When she got down there, she was still only one. But now we have several blacks that are in the General Assembly. I was the only female there for 8 years, although there were previous females, but only one at a time, you know. So I was there by myself for 8 years. So you learn the process. Before I even got there, and being an educator, retired teacher, I researched. I had a book like this, and I looked up. I found out who built the legislative hall, who was designed by a Black man from Wilmington. I also looked up the different types of committees that they have, which ones are paid committees, which ones aren't, what each committee does, what the purpose of that committee is for. And I wanted to be on the Sunset Committee because that was the one that oversees every 7 years each agency that falls under the governor. And I was concerned about especially about seniors, adult protective care, and things of that nature. So I was there and I chaired that for a couple of years. And then I finally got on the Joint Finance Committee, which is one of the most important committees there because we manage the money. It's not easy. You don't just get on somewhere like that. And I found out in my research and before getting there, how each county operates. Every county doesn't operate in the same way. So Rehoboth, Sussex County have a little more leeway in things that they do for their municipalities than we do up here in Newcastle County. So the municipalities in Sussex County, they can, corporates can vote in the municipality elections.
Right.
But here you do not. So when you look at some legislation or people misleading you saying that all corporations can vote in the state of Delaware, that's not true. You have to understand when there are charter changes that people do, and that's done by the state representative in that particular district. So, and we normally support people with their charter changes because if we want a charter change in Wilmington, we have to get the majority of 41 people to be able to vote for the charter change. So it's different in each one. So we support, if they want a charter change in Sussex or in Georgetown or in Seaford, then the General Assembly supports that. And then remember, the House of Representatives, we do the budget. So we have to get 35 votes in terms of the budget. There's not 35 Democrats there that can vote to give you that budget. So you're going to have to get some Republicans. So we support their needs in terms of their charter changes.
You know, and for those of you who are watching, you may say, well, why is she explaining this? She's explaining it because when people put out trash on you, it's important not for you to put out trash on them, but that you tell the truth. And the truth is there was a piece of legislation for something in Sussex that was supported by State Representative Bolden because, you know, the budget was coming and other things, and it was something they wanted for Sussex. How it's written here is as if every one of the corporation in the whole state can vote now. You know, this person, it's called really just being outright vicious. And, you know, I just take a moment.
It's just misleading because, you know, everybody has the right to run.
Yes.
But run on what you propose to do.
Yes.
And what not only propose, but what you have done in the past.
Right.
Where you've been, what you've participated in, what people you helped, whatever. But it's the old politics where you try to find something on somebody and then just run them down. Well, and I don't do that. I don't feed into it.
Yeah. Well, one thing about it is that the best he could do is to try to find something and twist it because you have lived a life of service. You've lived a life of helping someone else. That true essence of being a teacher, you have been that person to many people, even to people like myself who now pastor a major church here in the city. You have been there. Curry, calm down. Let's deal with it this way. I appreciate what you have done. Now, I don't need you to justify why the whole marijuana piece, because me and Coby got into a big argument at one point, but there were some technical things in that had to happen that you wanted to see happen. And I think you did get it to happen.
It did.
Could you help us out a little bit with that?
Right. Well, first of all, the marijuana legislation did pass in the House and in the Senate the first time through Ed Ozinski, but it still had a lot of work that needed to be done. So it was vetoed. It was vetoed by the governor. When it came back to the House, everybody supported the veto. So we worked on it with Representative Ozinski a lot because we went back and forth. I even went to, in Colorado, I went to one of the dispensaries that were there to see how they actually operate. My concern was in the legislation, when it passed, yes, it's money going towards the city and to the state, but it's just not always money. You have to look at the results of some things. I had some concerns with that, but the main concern I had was making sure these dispensaries were not placed in our neighborhoods in the city of Wilmington next to our schools, to our churches, or to our homes. We are row houses. Mm-hmm. The majority of in the county, there is open space. You know, they have areas where you have your stores, business, but it's not within in their communities per se. So I asked that be placed in the legislation, and Representative Osinski was very, very receptive in doing that. When it was placed in the legislation, we all voted for it, and it passed.
You know, that's called compromising. That's called understanding the bill. That's called making sure that your people have been represented in whatever somebody else is doing. You know, again, there's a reason why during this season of Delaware's history that we don't spend a lot of time with a bunch of people who want to be novice, who brand new, fresh, don't understand the process. Compromise is so important.
It is. There's 41 people in the General Assembly, and you don't just want your side to vote on something. Mm-hmm. You know, we can get 21 votes basically on anything. That's the basic one. But then some you need 2/3 votes and 3/5 votes, etc. But you want the legislation because what I try to emphasize to even young people, some of the ones that just came in after me, when you're voting, the legislation that you're putting out affects the entire state of Delaware, not just the district you represent. Mm-hmm. That would be city council, you know, things like that, or county council. This is the entire state of Delaware. That's why it's so important that when you representing your district, know what it is that you can do as a representative. Right. You can do sidewalks, you can do streets, you can put money into getting capital projects done. And you can also support your nonprofits that are there in terms of grant and aid, those kinds of things. But when you do a piece of legislation, you have to realize it's not just for the district you represent, it's for the entire state of Delaware. And that's the understanding that you need to have. And I always say, listen first. Listen and try to learn before you jump into something. Even when you have a lot of lobbyists that will come and say, oh, we want this piece of legislation through. I always say, let me get back to you, or let me read it first. Mm-hmm. But you never say, yes, okay, I'll do it, because then you're locked in. And if it's not something that's popular or goes, then you look like a fool after jumping out there. Then you're trying to get yourself back, and people are upset with you, and then you're upset with them because they're upset with you. So it just doesn't work. It can't be your own personal agenda or vendetta. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I love what I do. Yes. And I've done it all my entire life without being elected. Mm-hmm. Taking kids to different places, on tours, or to museums, and even to Sesame Place. I took a bunch of them, gave them apple juice, and they all had diarrhea. and you know, I've turned parking lots into skating rinks by getting roller skates from Parks and Recreation and having a DJ so they can do something in their neighborhood. I took parks and turned them into drive-in movies, which they didn't know anything about before, but the parents could bring a blanket, you'd share them with your kids. We had a big screen TV. I got movies from the libraries, had a popcorn machine, and they were out there. Wow. It was time to do things together. And I used to have people settlement on Saturdays, have the kids come in, look at cartoons, so parents can have some peace time or go shopping or whatever. Mm-hmm. So these are things you do. I had Girl Scouts for 12 years. Wow. And because I saw the need, and I know what it was like when I was coming up. My dad always did things to the community, and he's in his 60s raising me. Mm-hmm. When my mom died, I was 40. I was 5 years old. So I learned a lot from him, and it's important to have values and respect going forward. And this is what I'm saying. I don't know what else I can say or do. People come to me for everything, and I don't mind. even though there's people that should be there that's doing it, that they have problems or don't get back to them. But this is not a job about money. It's about dedication. It's about passion. And it's about trust.
Yes.
And
yes.
and you know, and commitment.
Yeah. You know, people can say many things after saying your name, but one thing they would totally be lying about, they said that you're not present. Mm-hmm. You are present. You talked about, and I really was glad how you talked about the various things you did. You know, this is not the first time you've been up against a trouble, and it won't be your last. But I think I was more angered than you, because I know Stephanie Bolden. I know, even when I've never been popular here in Wilmington, no, well, I may have been known, but I've never been popular. But you've never turned your back. You've always, whether we agree or disagree, gave direction. That's the teacher in you. That's the Delta in you. Because I'm a lover of Deltas, because that's, as an undergraduate.
Fortitude.
Yes. Yeah. And so I want to make sure, for those of you who are watching us today, I guess it's more me. We're going to turn to some other things in a second, but I just wanted to make sure that we don't allow people to just lambaste and beat up on people who have been there for our community, who have worked hard for our community, who made sure that the voiceless had a voice. The stuff you did with the SEED program, the stuff you did at Delaware State to assist when the African American school was not even really thought of or looked at. Everybody else was getting all the money. You were there down in the state fighting to make sure things that, and some of the privileges that we enjoy now, me as a pastor at Wilmington, others who are graduates of Delaware State, and in a community that you serve, some of the privileges that we are enjoying now is because of the hard work you did, and you never tooted yourself on the back. And I think this is why I'm speaking up now. And this is the show right before the election. And I had to ask you to come on, because I wanted to make sure people, well, number one, understand the truth. And number two, that we cannot allow people to just beat up on you, because that's not your personality to fight back like that, like nasty and belligerent and that's not who you are. You're a lady.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think it's a waste of time.
Yes.
You know, I've always tried to stay focused.
Yes.
And it's like what you said. Sometimes I'll sit and I'll think, and I said, gee whiz, nobody really knows what you do. They can always call on you to get, and then you can get something done. But once it's done, I mean, I get thank you letters. It's just a lady I was able to help just this week. And it was just something minor. But I got a call this morning, and she said, oh, well, they want my address because they want to send me a thank you note. I'm saying, well, I don't really need, the thanks is that it was getting done. It was just like in teaching. People were saying, oh, well, they don't pay enough money for teachers, et cetera. We've done a lot for that in terms of Delaware increasing salaries for teachers, as well as paras and substitutes. But when I went into teaching, it wasn't for money. I had a degree in accounting. I could have gone to accounting and made money.
Yes.
But I wanted to teach because of the teachers I had. And my reward was when these kids come up to me and they say, oh, hi, Miss Bolden, remember me? Well, I remember the face, but not the name. What are you doing? When I go to a Habitat groundbreaking or something, when I'm seeing my students, a former student that's buying a house, this is my reward. And or the ones that are lawyers or have their own businesses and things. I've seen so many students since I've been in this position, as I go out to different places or different events, that are students. Oh, Miss Bolden, remember me? Just at the Maurice Pridgett ribbon cutting.
Yeah, I saw you.
A student.
Yeah.
A student came up, Miss Bolden, you remember? Oh my God, yeah. Remember, you couldn't chew gum in your class just right. You know.
You were a real teacher.
And yeah, but I gave them hugs, and I pop them upside the head once in a while, but I gave them hugs. I would eat lunch with my students, or they can come to my classroom, because this is how you gain trust. The first day of class, I talk to them about me, what I've been through, where I've been, because it's not always what you see on the surface. You don't know what kinds of troubles or heartbreaks or things that other people have been through. And then we talk about curfews. I said, oh, you know, mine was at 10 o'clock during the weeks, 11 o'clock on weekends. What's yours? 2 a.m. in the morning. What? You know? So that's why you're bored, because you've done everything before you go in. There's nothing else to look forward to the next day.
Yeah.
But you know, this is me, and I like I said, I love what I do. I will always do it, regardless of if I'm in office or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there for whoever needs help or whoever can help me.
Yeah. Right. And what we're going to do is we're not going to say regardless. We're going to make sure you stay in there. And I'm going to tell everybody who's voting, it's a shame we ran out of time today but I'm bringing you back. After we get the victory, I want to bring you back because this is not your first time on the Coffee with Curry, but I enjoy having you. You have been a very, very strong person in our community. You've been a rock. And I've watched you when you was up against tough times. And it's interesting, it's another Delta late woman by the name of Neera Sudarkis, who was the president of Lincoln at the time. She said, tough times,
I remember.
You remember her? She said, tough times don't last always, but tough people do. You're going to survive, and you're going to survive strong. And for those of you who are, constituents of Stephanie Bolden, I'm asking that you would seriously, let's not get involved in the negativity. Let us continue to move forward. I don't care what you could have asked or did ask for Stephanie to do for you. It got done. I mean, even the projects that I've done here at Zion Fair, I'm not really in her district like that. But the reality of it is, if I can help, that's teacher piece in her. That's that educator in her. And she opened up by talking about, how she did the research, even on the building that's in Legislative Hall. Knowing the facts, understanding the facts, trying to get a true understanding of it, and using compromise, not of values, but being able to get from A to B without destroying C and D is very important. We need Stephanie Bolden and Dover. And I hope and trust that, while we ran out of time today, I hope and trust that you all will trust her on Tuesday. Vote for Stephanie Bolden. I'm there. I got a shirt on, because I'm ready to go out on the streets and I'm gonna knock on some doors for her, because I want to see her do well. I have endorsed her 100%, 200%, 300%. And if I could vote that many times, I would definitely do it. As our state representative, you got one last thing you want to share? Could you share that at this point?
Yeah, just to make sure that you vote. When you vote on dealing with the person and what the person has done and what they can do for the city, not one agenda, not one item, not just you. Remember, these people, we represent the entire state of Delaware, the entire city of Wilmington, the county, etc. So be an educated voter, not a voter because you like somebody or you just don't like the other person.
And I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna close this. And you don't want to vote for some persons who put ages on a flyer to say a person, as if to say a person is old. But with age come wisdom, with age come knowledge, with age come experience, with age comes life. And without age, 36, there's not much. I think that was deplorable. And I think what has happened, I'm personally bothered by this. Not so much because it's Stephanie Bolden, but because this cycle have become vicious and out of control. And this should have never happened, but it did happen. And I pray and trust that God will give State Representative Bolden victory so that we can come back, not for vendettas and things of that nature. It's not even about that, but it's about showing that God always prevail at the end. We'll be right back.
I'm Alexander Hackett, and I'm running for City Council at large for the city of Wilmington. And as always, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Wilmington, I see you at the primary, September 10th, 2024. Vote Alexander Hackett, all right?
Hello, Wilmington. I am Michelle Harley, and I represent the 4th Councilmatic District. The communities in the 4th District are Southbridge, the Riverfront, Midtown Brandywine, Trinity Vicinity, and a portion of the East Side. I am running for my re-election on Tuesday, September the 10th for the 4th District City Council seat. And I would love for you to donate and to consider volunteering. To learn more about what I am doing and what I plan to do, you can visit my website at www.michelleharley.com. Together, we can move the 4th District forward. Thank you.
Can we trust Bethany Hall Long? Her record of scandals is clear. No, we can't. Hall Long funneled hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars to her husband and refused to turn over an audit of her finances to the State Board of Elections. She's accepted tens of thousands of dollars of illegal donations. Now she wants us to elect her governor? I know what my answer is. It's time for a new Delaware way, not the same old politicians.
Hello, I'm Marcus Henry, and I'm running for Newcastle County Executive. I spent over 20 years working in state and local government, trying to bring the good programs and services you deserve here in Newcastle County. Please support my campaign. Please look us up at marcushenryde.com for further information. I look forward to meeting you all over the next year, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Local news and politics in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. The latest headlines with your host, Dr. C.T. Curry.
But they getting rich, getting new cars, getting new houses, getting new opportunities, but the community is still getting nothing.
And co-host Coby Owens.
And from that time, we have slowly seen our democracy become under attack.
Weekly episodes. Sundays at 5 p.m. The Source.
I want to be a butterfly.
I want my parents to forget they grounded me.
I want to create receipts to cover up all the money I paid to myself and my husband.
That's not how it works when you break the law, Bethany. Hundreds of thousands of campaign dollars improperly paid to personal accounts? It's time to get Bethany Hall Long out of Fantasyland and out of office.
When Roe v. Wade fell, we all got mad. Matt Meyer got to work, helping the First Aid Abortion Fund get up and running so women can get reproductive care here in Delaware. Matt went to work protecting kids from gun violence, too, reducing shootings almost 50%. As Matt's wife, I'm incredibly proud. As an emergency room doctor, I see the difference he's making. Matt will be a great governor because he doesn't just talk, he's walking the walk.
And we're back. What a great show today. And I hope and trust that you had an opportunity to see both Coby Owens as well as Stephanie Bolden. I wanted to bring Stephanie on particularly because I was really disturbed by what occurred in the literature that this person put out. I will not dignify the person with a name, but a person who have really worked hard for this community, a person who have really fought many odds, a person who stood with us through thick and through thin is Stephanie Bolden. And for anyone to want to get into an office so bad that they would try to defame or try to act as if her legislation record is so egregious that they do not want, that we should not vote for her or support her, is just outright wrong. I beg you on Tuesday, go ahead and vote. Vote and vote and vote. Don't allow this to win. I have already shared with you that I'm very much supporting Wayne Dobson. I'm very much supporting Tisha Bracy. I'm very much supporting Alex Hackett. These are the city council and Coby Owens. I am there with them. And I believe that this can help change the trajectory of our city. And these are thinkers. These are young people who really understand the true notion of leadership, compromise, and taking things to the next level. But then I also want to go on the state level and say, I am supporting Stephanie Bolden 150%. I hope that you will do the same thing. I am a strong supporter of Sherry Dorsey. I believe that is her sign is in front of my door because I support her 100%, more legislation than anyone that I know of in the short amount of time that she's been in office. And I'm also supporting Matt Myers. I wanted to just tell you who I'm supporting. You get a chance to decide who you're going to vote for. But these are people who I believe will change the trajectory of the state of Delaware. Until the next time we get together, may the Lord God bless you real good.
Thank you for watching this episode of Coffee with Curry. Tune in next week, Sunday, at 11 a.m.